Kevin O'Leary's been on a tear over what's happening in New York City. A judge fined Donald Trump $355 million, just about. And he's asked, but it's fraud. And O'Leary says, what fraud? Here are the important details. Most of you know this. The suit against Donald Trump was not brought by any businesses. It was not brought by anybody who was damaged or defrauded. It was brought by the state. Donald Trump did not commit fraud. They are claiming it is fraud to evaluate your own asset. Now, I've talked about Kevin O'Leary and what this means. But Patrick Bet-David has a tweet up where he breaks down the lawsuits against Trump, the risks of the partisan courts. It made me realize, I think people are focused on the wrong thing. Kevin O'Leary says, who's going to want to invest in New York City now? You're right, nobody. The precedent being set here is not just to go after Donald Trump. Much like the gender pay gap, the precedent is not to make some spurious claim about sexism in the workplace. With the gender pay gap argument, what was the real world implication? In San Francisco, several businesses, large ones, announced they would no longer allow negotiations. That's right. Well, one of the reasons men get paid more than women is because men are more likely to negotiate. So ban negotiating. The job pays $100K. Take it or leave it. All this does is cut off the tall grass. But what's the end result? Every job that we announce will have a flat rate. There will never be I'm better at the job, so I deserve more. No. Communism. What about New York? Trump committed fraud, they said. Does this mean people aren't going to want to invest in New York? No. It means in the future, the government will decide the value of your asset, not you. You will not be allowed to determine whether something is worth selling for a certain price or not. Whether something is worth used as collateral. No, the government must decide. Let me play this clip so you can hear a bit of what Kevin O'Leary had to say.
Wouldn't there be many companies who would not want to do business or loan money to people like yourself or investors if they know that they can get away with fraud and there's no recourse to protect them?
Excuse me, what fraud? This is not about Trump anymore. When you get a developer that builds a building and he says it's worth $400 million and he wants to borrow $200 million from a bank, which happens every day, everywhere on earth, including every American city, every developer is an entrepreneur. They shine the light on their building and they say it's worth 400. The bank does its own due diligence, as was done in this case, because they're very good at it. The banks are very good, and they say, no, it's worth 300. We're only going to loan you 150 million. That haggling has gone on for decades. That's how it works. And then in this case, even the bank that was supposedly defrauded testified and said, we didn't lose anything. We want to do business with this guy again. We'd like to. But the judge said, no. Let's penalize this developer for $355 million. And if we're going to do that, let's penalize all the developers all across America.
So let's pause right there. That's an important distinction. Donald Trump did not get a trial. I know, I'm rehashing this, but you may have seen it. A lot of people don't know the details, and these details are very important. Please share this for people who don't know. Donald Trump didn't have a fraud trial. The judge ruled summarily, meaning when the state filed a claim saying Trump committed fraud, the judge banged the gavel and said, yes, he did. No trial. None. Now, we'll have a trial to determine damages. But nobody was damaged. Nobody lost money. Where's the fine going? The state is seizing Trump's money. We have this tweet from Patrick Bet-David. He says, let's do some math. President Trump has been ordered to pay 83.3 and 354 million. Let's, estimate that it could be 437, maybe even another 100 with interest. His net worth is 2 to 2.6 billion. So it's 21 to 27% of his net worth. Experts have said Trump also has 600 to 700 million in cash. Trump says 400. This may seem like a lot to the average person, but it's not when you're being asked to pay 537 million in damages and interest. Well, he shouldn't say 5, he should say 4, because he said before interest was the 100 million. Doesn't include legal fees. He goes on to say, love him or hate him, here's what it means. 30 years from now, a woman can come out and falsely claim allegations against you. And if the judge hates your politics, they will believe her and make up any number to destroy your life savings. Full stop. The judge in this case has a mental, I believe, based on my viewing of him, he has some sort of psychotic derangement of his brain. I'm not a doctor, and so it doesn't mean much. But there's clearly something wrong with this guy. Maybe he's too old and his brain doesn't work the way it used to. Maybe. So Donald Trump is accused, and this guy, it's not that the judge hates his politics and believes her. The judge doesn't care whether she's telling the truth or not. He's like, I can do whatever I want as a judge, and I can take from you. And so that's what he did. If you build your wealth through real estate and pay back all your commitments to the banks, buyers, and sellers, a judge who hates your politics could make up any number to deplete your life savings and prevent you from doing business, as we've seen. He says, so what does this do to capitalists and those with aspirations to run in the future? Scares the crap out of future candidates, eliminates one's family from supporting you, distance family members, make the candidate rethink why they're even running. He says, or at least, last but not least, it could energize a new generation to fight like hell. I think this play, he says, what is freedom to you? The most important question one has to ask. The future looks bright. The play here that I see is communism. You will not be able to evaluate your own buildings. You will not be able to evaluate your own pay rate. Only the authority can decide what you're worth when you're worth it. So what's that mean? Cut off the tall grass, homogenize all the jobs. And now we will simplify the economy into a caste system. Are you an intellectual worker, white collar? Then you get 100,000. Are you a blue collar worker? Well, you get 50,000. Are you an executive? You get 500,000. Are you an elite politician, CEO, whatever? Well, at that point, we'll figure it out. But Donald Trump is outside the system. He is not part of their petty cabal. And so they are setting precedent with him. I'll play more from this clip with Kevin O'Leary.
They've all done the same thing. All of them should go to jail, and we should stop building buildings. That's what the message is from New York. Even the governor herself is concerned about what this looks like to investors all around the world. It's not just U.S. domestic. All around the world, people are talking about what happened here. You really think people want to invest money in New York after this? How about we go somewhere else?
I think there are people who would, I don't want to cut you off, but I want to.
We'll skip this next part of their banter, which makes no sense and is needless.
Included as those who have a lot more money. Is there any weight to that for you?
Well, I ask you who lost money, and I'll make it even clearer. You and I, we're developing a data center together, and
he basically says, if you and I are going to make an investment, why would we choose New York? The risk is too great.
And shouldn't they ask for better management so they don't become a flyover state? Remember, New York has the highest taxes in the country, the worst regulatory environment, and it's incredibly mismanaged. And I'm pointing out now, on top of that, you get this insanity, a victimless crime. And forget about Trump. It's not about Trump. I don't care about Trump in this. I care about America, and I care about entrepreneurship, and I care about democracy and the fairness. The judicial system is now being criticized. People are asking themselves, the bar of New York, is this judge rational to charge $355 million in a case where no one lost any money?
And that was the point I was making. I think the judge is mentally, I don't know what the right word is. I think he needs to be diagnosed. I think he needs to go, you think I'm joking? No, I think he needs to get an evaluation. I'd imagine any honest medical practitioner sitting down with someone, maybe like a psychiatrist, maybe, would be like, this person's suffering from paranoid delusions. They can't make sense of what's real. And that's what we're seeing right now.
Is that good for the people of New York? Should the people of New York wake up to this and say, what's happening to us? Why is this becoming so perverse? Why are we the focus of this injustice? And I have nothing to do with Trump. I'm not supporting Trump. I'm supporting American entrepreneurship. And New York is slowly becoming the #1 loser state in America.
Slowly becoming. It's been, I don't know. I don't know if slowly becoming. You know what I see with Kevin O'Leary? He's right, of course. He makes some great points, but he doesn't pay attention to the bigger picture. That's what I find truly fascinating. These far leftists and all those say, go touch grass. I'd actually argue this. Through sheer arrogance, I believe that those of us here at Timcast actually have a more broad view of politics, economics, and history than the average person. We had, I won't call anybody out specifically, but we've had people call in. We've had people talk to us. We've had guests, and they like to believe that their world is the center of what's happening. I'll give you an example. I remember seeing a speech by a prominent conservative saying, the fight that we are facing in this culture war is globalism versus nationalism. I've seen another person say it's authoritarianism versus libertarianism. I've seen some people say it is Christianity versus secularism. And I'm just like, each and every person, to a hammer, everything looks like a nail. They perceive what is happening through the lens of their bubble. They then argue no one else truly understands what's happening. I think it's fair to say there's a lot of things I don't understand. And there's a lot of things that I view through my lens. But I do believe, and I would say this with sheer arrogance, that I, as well as the others who are on Timcast IRL, have a broader view on average, or a broader view than most people perceiving this. Kevin O'Leary says, look what they're doing. He does not factor in. All the other lawsuits against Trump are as bunk and as fake as this one. All of them. But to him, he lives in a real estate world. That's what he sees. What's going on? People believe they know the origins of wokeness and where it comes from, but they insist it's their universe. The academic professors who I've debated say it started in academia. People in politics might argue that it started in politics, started in finance. I believe that the roots of the ideology that we're seeing right now in wokeness did not originate in universities, but existed in universities alongside many other ideologies. I believe that it is based on social pressures pertaining to civil rights and social media algorithms. It exacerbated this particular ideology, which is rather amorphous. That is not my world. It is not my bubble. I think I have blind spots. I think we all do. But I think looking at the bigger picture, the end result doesn't need to be intentional on the part of any of these individuals. The machine is churning away towards communism. And Donald Trump's verdict is a key component of that. I'll leave it there. Next segment is coming up at 8 p.m. tonight at youtube.com/TimcastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all then.